Hello, one and all. Welcome to a Galaxy Man Show interview show. For my guest today on my show is this incredible actor known by the name of Charles Terrier, who has been in occupation in 2018, and he's also in this new incredible series called The Legacies, which is a Vampire Diaries spin-off series. So I'm about to give Charles an ad into the live now and have a chat with Charles.
G'day, mate.
Hey Charles, what's up?
Not much, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
That's good. Long time no see. How's things?
I know. Yeah, things have been pretty good. Just, taking it one step at a time and just, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because we're all in this together, basically.
Yeah, basically, it's all we got, isn't it? That's the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, it's a pleasure to have you on my show again for a second time. So basically, what I'm going to get you to do first is introduce yourself and explain a bit about what you do as a person, and then I'll dive right into the questions.
Sure. G'day, guys. My name is Charles Jazz Terrier. I'm an actor and a filmmaker. I've been in things like Legacies and Patient and things like Neighbours as well. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Awesome. So for my first question, Charles, so you play a character called Chad in The Legacies on the CW, which is a Vampire Diaries spin-off series. What was the process like in auditioning for Chad for the series?
Yeah. Well, basically, it's kind of funny. I mean, so obviously the other day, I'm not sure if you saw this, but some people might have, put up the actual self-tape that I did for it, which was Sebastian. It's quite funny because that really, even before I auditioned for that, in the first season of the show, when they were announcing they were going to make it, I actually auditioned for the role of Raphael, which is actually played by my buddy Peyton. And that was a lot of fun. That was great. But ultimately, I didn't get the role, naturally, as you saw. So I ended up auditioning for Sebastian probably about June of last year, and it got down to me and Thomas Doherty, and it didn't go my way. And then obviously they turned around and were like, "We really love him. We'd love to have him on as a different character." So they sort of sent me this sort of sides, I guess, or this chat, and I put it down, and pretty much within about 10 minutes, they're like, "Yep, great. You're in," they said it was a bit more of a formality because they just really wanted to work with me. So I was incredibly flattered by that. And pretty much in the space of, I think from the time that I got that request it was 3 days later that I was in the US. So I pretty much went from in Australia, not even knowing about the show, to 3 days later being in Georgia, stepping to the set of Legacy. It was a bit of a whirlwind. Yeah.
Awesome. So for my next question, Charles, who has been your most favorite cast members out of the Legacies to work with in the series?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really go past my brother in arms in Ben Gurins, who plays the Necromancer. Obviously, because Chad and the Necromancer have such kind of a tight bond. Most of my scenes were with him. He's also a fellow Australian. So we got along like a on fire. Both love Australian football. So we just hung out a lot. We talked about that. What else? I mean, I got along really well. Aria, Shagasemi's an awesome guy. Kaylee Bryant. I mean, everyone's really lovely there. I really got along with everyone. Ben Levin and Olivia Liang as well. So, I couldn't really say who my favorite. I love them all, but I'd say the one I spent the most time with and probably got to know the best was Ben, from working alongside him so much. Yeah.
Awesome. So for my next question, Charles, did you have to study the Vampire Diaries universe before you went into the role?
I did. You know what? I did and I didn't. For my Sebastian audition, I did speak to a couple of friends of mine very big into the Vampire Diaries and the originals, and I sort of gave them my take on it. I did a take, and then they said, "Oh, you know what was really good? Try it like this, try it like that." You know, it was a bit of like they were sort of like try a Klaus Mickelson or Michelson vibe, less Damon Salvatore, more Klaus. So that's why I went that way. You can see when you watch the show, Thomas has a different take on it as well. It's very interesting getting some people's feedback in the comments of my self-tape based on what they liked, what they didn't like, you know, about the way that the show went and the way I went with it. With Chad, however, it was a bit more, I guess, because Chad is kind of this standalone kind of figure. He, you know, isn't mythical that we know of yet. You know, as the audience. So it was a bit more like I kind of free rein to kind of run around with it and do it my own way. But I had watched a bit of the show to kind of get a feel of what I guess the acting style and genre sort of requires and asks for. And I've been lucky enough to have a couple of friends that had actually been in the show in the past as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. I have to ask, by the way, who would be your favorite Vampire Diary brother?
Oh, I'm partial to Damon. I love a bad boy. I love a kind of a misunderstood, you know, sort of anti-hero, if you will. Yeah.
You and I are completely way different now because I like Stefan, the hero type.
Look, I like Stefan. I get it. You know, when I was younger, I think I always wanted to be the hero. Now that I'm a bit older, I'm like, I understand the villain a bit better. And I feel like as an actor, there is more fun in playing the more complicated roles. Not necessarily the villains, but the more complicated roles. You know, Damon has that sass and that kind of that violence and that energy and all that sort of stuff. Stefan is very much guided by his moral principles. But, you know, any sort of character will give you an ability to, you know, stand and let someone else shoot. Yeah.
Awesome. So for my next question, Charles, what was your favorite scene to shoot of Chad's?
You haven't seen it yet. My favorite scene.
I've seen it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No. So in the last episode, before COVID-19 shut down shooting, there's a scene where I get to, without revealing too much, I get to pretend to be someone else, and I get to impersonate them basically. And it unfortunately, because COVID hit, they didn't get to finish out the season. We fell about 3 weeks short. So I'm not sure if you've seen that, but that's currently sitting in, I think, the editor's bay. Hey, Lee. Yeah, it's currently sitting in the editor's bay. And I look forward to people get to have a look at that because it'll be a bit fun. Mm.
So for my next question, Charles, you were also in Occupation, another great film back in 2018. You were in as Jackson. If you could basically come back as Jackson, what would you want out of Jackson?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, look, Jackson had a pretty, you know, unfortunate but heroic sort of end, if you will. I'd love to come back. I mean, I'd love for both Vanessa and Jackson to come back. Great. But if only Jackson could come back, I would love to, again, sort of take on the more villainous sort of role, or the hero sort of role, if you will, where maybe I don't know, maybe he's kind of been taken over by the evil side, or, you know, the alien side, and re-engineered biomechanically, and, you know, starts fighting against his friends and has to end up, I guess, you know, fighting back, if you will, and then gets brought back to the good side. I'd really like to see something like that. I feel like that would give a lot of texture and a lot of depth to his character. And I wouldn't mind seeing him sort of battle it out and some of the other people in the show. Yeah.
Awesome. So because Occupation Rainfall is coming out this year, in November, so what are you expecting to see from Occupation Rainfall?
Well, from what I know, and what I'm allowed to sort of impart, I guess, based on my other friends that are in the actual film, it's a real spectacle movie. There's a lot of, I think you might have seen this in the trailer and the teaser as well. There's a lot of really kind of whiz bang special effects. It's pretty special in that regard. I'm really looking forward to see some of the new characters coming. You've got Daniel Gillies from the original stepping in. You've got you know, Ken Jeong. I mean, they've spared no expense here. They've really sort of tried to make it as big as they can. So I think it's really going to shock and awe a lot of people in a really wonderful way. They've really, you know, gone all out here, and there'll be some great performances of people like Jack Garrett and Izzy Stevens and like that, and Charles Mazur even.
Awesome. So, what was your favorite Jackson memorable moment in Occupation?
I mean, I love explosions, so anything where I mean, I feel like I was always running in the film. I was running into frame or running out of frame. It became a joke on set that if you're seeing where Jackson is, he's probably running either towards you or away from you. For me, my last scene, so, you know, without giving anything away, but the big, you know, explosion, I guess, if you will, that was probably one of my favorites in that it was great because it was challenging. You know, it was kind of like we spent all this time building it up and getting it ready, getting it ready and everything. And then we'd actually had a fire safety protocol go up in the what do you call it? In the, I guess you'd say the factory. So we had to leave the set and come. It happened again. So we had to leave the set and come back again. So I'd gotten ready for this big emotional scene like 5 times before I finally got to do it. So it was a really good test for me. So I enjoyed it in that sense. The other one would have been in the rain. And all you have to do is say the rain scene. People are like, oh, yeah, I give it to him. Hi, Omar. And yeah, that definitely would have been it for me.
Awesome. So for my next question, you're actually in this new series that's coming out, I don't know when, but like coming out soon, called Interface, and you play a character called Wyatt. What can people expect from the series Interface, and what can people expect to see from your character?
I mean, so Interface is a great series that's kind of obviously with COVID, it had been held up a bit longer because, you know, obviously COVID had held up a lot. It's really sort of now starting to take shape. Part of it was held up because they're not just shooting in Australia, they're actually shooting in, I think, Taiwan. So they're kind of figuring out the different moving parts involved. But Wyatt is, you know, a very talented computer programmer who's kind of wasting attention, if you will, working in a day job. Like he works as a sort of an IT guy in a company. And so he's very much, you know, that's what he does by day, but by night he's hacking into government frames, trying to find out information about something that's very sort of dear and important to him. But I think what you're going to see there too is you're really going to have a kind of Mr. Robot kind of the James Bond sort of vibe. You know, you're going to have this kind of like grand scale meets human emotion type. There's a lot of it really blends a lot of sort of cyberpunk vibes in there as well. I mean, what else? Without sort of giving away too much, that's kind of what you got to look forward to. Yeah, bring back Chad.
Awesome. So for my next question, if you could be in any current TV or movie, what would it be and why?
Well, I think I'd love to be in Tenet because I do love no, I'm not leaving Legacies. Don't stress, fan. Hi Amy. But no, I'd probably say Tenet because I love Christopher Nolan. I love his work. I'd also love to be in the Batman because who doesn't want to be Batman? But I guess in terms of TV shows at the moment, I would love to be in something like either Brown or Stranger Things would be great. Shortland Street. Yeah, there you go. I guess closer to home, some of the Australian stuff that's coming, I think the new Thor movie being done by Taika Waititi would be awesome. I'm just a big superhero nerd, like, you know that, Jacob.
Like, who isn't a superhero
nerd? Yeah.
Awesome. So for my next question, Charles, what have you actually learned during COVID time? What have you learned about yourself during COVID?
This is a really good question. I think for me, I was in Los Angeles when COVID kind of broke out. I mean, I was actually in Georgia. We were shooting Legacies at the time. And what unfortunately happened was it shut everything down, not just for us, but worldwide. Initially, I was thinking I was going to stay in Los Angeles. My family was like, I think you should come home because this could take a while. So I came back. My girlfriend was here too, and I want to spend very well, thank you. But, for me, it was really about nothing was certain anymore. Like a lot of work, very much, I'd love to be a Sith Lord, actually. There you go, Jacob. That's what I'd like to be. And I'm kind of of them again at the moment. But I definitely found that everything kind of slowed down. Nothing was certain anymore. So I had to really just work on what I could control. So that was my own work, my training, my mental health. I went through a real, I went through a real difficult time at the end of 2018, start of 2019, where I definitely start working on myself, try to become the person I wanted to be. So I've really keep that up during COVID and create a number of creative opportunities and creative outlets that, like I said, I can control. So I started a podcast called Stubborn Optimist. I've done a couple of other projects. I have done a couple of things in lockdown when we were able to shoot things with friends. We're trying to, get to go to festivals. But in terms of that, a lot of it's just doing classes. So acting classes via Zoom, well-oiled, playing guitar, writing, things like that. Yeah, so a lot of it has been going insular, going inside myself to learn about things and make me tick and everything so I can be a better life. Yeah.
Awesome. So for my next question, what are the positives and negatives into the acting industry, and how do you get through those negatives?
That's another good question. I really like these questions, man. I mean, look, I think, thanks, Berg. I think one of the big things, the positives about, acting and the entertainment industry, obviously you get to do what providing you're doing it because you love it, like I do. I always wanted to play characters. To be able to do things and feel like stepping into other people's shoes and lives every single day. So that's the positives for me. Obviously, the more successful you become, the more variety, fame, money you generally sort of get, and that's great. I haven't necessarily had all that come my way yet, but it will come in time. I guess the negatives are it's the uncertainty. You don't know where the next job is necessarily going to come from. You don't know. Sometimes you can, nail an audition or nail a self-tape and it goes your way or it doesn't go your way. You have to get very used to, they talk about the idea of rejection. It's not so much rejection. You learn the more you do it that you're never being rejected for a role if you don't get it. You're just not the pick. And I know a lot of people could say, well, that's the same rejection. It just means you weren't the right fit. You might do the best audition but not get the job. You might do a great audition but you're not what they have in mind. So it's not really personal. It becomes just like you get the jobs you're meant to, you don't get the jobs you're not meant to. And you kind of learn through that a resilience. It is hard when you're putting so much out there and you're not getting, I guess, what you think you deserve back. I've had a couple of things recently. I even had something earlier, due to COVID-19 restrictions, a job that I was set to been cancelled, which is a real shame. It may come back later, but you know, it's unprecedented time. So right now we're just like, that's the way it is, you know. So that sucks. Even a few weeks ago, there was something else I thought I was really close to. Unfortunately, didn't go my way, you know. So there are really personal sort of hits sometimes. You can really feel like the world's kind of against you when that happens, but you kind of have to take a step back and go, it isn't personal. These things happen every day to everyone. It's happening to me. And if you're passionate about something, if you really love it, you know, this is why I kind of made that podcast, Job and Optimist, because it's about being able to find a silver lining in every, you know, situation, even if it's inherently like, you can either be hopeful about a situation or positive, or you can be negative. And one of them is going to lead to more opportunities, and one of them is going to lead to more depression. You just have to decide which one you want to. So, yeah.
So for my last question, Charles, what new projects do you have installed, like that you would like to announce on the show?
Well, mate, I mean, obviously there was something that I was set to do, which has just been delayed or cancelled, unfortunately. Fingers crossed it comes back, because that would be great, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens with COVID, at least down in Victoria. I did do, like I said, a couple of things in isolation. A friend of mine, we made a short film called Companions that's looking at going to a couple of international film festivals. That's really exciting. It's COVID, I guess you'd say, specific. It's, you know, the kind of the trials and the tribulations they face. Interface is obviously another one. It's going to be next year, I believe. We'll start early next year once the restrictions are kind of fully off. So that's really exciting. And Legacies, there will be another season. I can't do much. I don't know exactly as well what my role will be, because they still have to shooting out the last of season 2, start of season 3. But, you know, yeah, naturally, anything that's kind of was shooting will get back to shooting, but new projects have kind of been put on the back burner in the meantime, or have had to sort of reload, you know, because of the US can't necessarily shoot en masse at the Canada going gangbusters at the moment. Australia is sort of doing, yeah. So there's a couple of exciting things in the work. Look out for Interface. Look out for Legacy. Look out for Companion. But yeah, mate, that's really me. In the meantime, just kind of creating my work.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're all doing well and safe, Charles. Everyone, definitely please go support Charles. He's such an incredible actor in person. So definitely go support Charles. And thank you so much, Charles, for definitely appearing on my show. It means so much. You have no idea. And yeah, everyone definitely go support Charles.
Mate, my pleasure. So good to see you, all right?
Oh, I didn't think you had it in you.
You were talking about killing kids. I had to stop you.
You can't stop me, Chad. You're not in control of yourself anymore. I'm not your friend. I'm your eternal master. Now, Neil.
I think I figured it out. Oh, yeah? Why Maliver did it to you. What if he wasn't screwing you over? What if he made you human? To give you a shot at peace. And if he could have just lived that life well, you might have gotten there. He gave you a chance to start over. And you blew it, Ted.
ever call me that again. My name is the Necromancer.